Hello, y'all.
Hey, welcome. Here we are, another live stream. Excited to be here with you, Cody.
Woo! I think we're on week 10, just so you know.
I know. I saw that too. I went back and counted them. That's great. So thank you. We've already got a bunch of people coming in. Guys, we have a really awesome topic that we're going to be talking about today. We've got a special guest with us, Raylon White. He goes by Ray. Thanks for being here, Ray. And guys, we're going to follow a similar format that Cody and I have been doing here. What we're going to do is we're going to use Ray and his business as our case study. We're going to be talking about ways that we can help him take his business to that next level. It's all about scale on this episode, right? This live stream. So we're going to be really focusing on how do you go from wherever you're at right now and transition from that place to the next level, whatever that looks like for you. Cody and I were talking offline a little bit, and when you get into this business, there's kind of the launch phase, and that's kind of like getting some momentum, getting a few deals under your belt. And then at some point you're going to kind of hit a wall, and you should hit a wall, because if you're not hitting a wall, then you're coasting. But we want to kind of figure out, okay, well, how do I break down, climb over, destroy this wall in my way and continue to progress in my business? I know firsthand from, getting to know Cody, myself, I don't ever want my business to be in a place where it's stagnant and where my income is capped or limited, where the business isn't growing, right? I kind of feel like if it's not growing, it's dying. You can't just stay status quo. It just isn't going to work. So that looks different for everybody, but we really want to help you kind of take where you're at and get you to that next level. So, that's kind of our intro here to get going. Anything you want to add to that, Cody?
No, other than I'm just excited to be here, guys. And I appreciate week in, week out to the greatest audience that participates in this. Guys, this will be a live Q&A. So we'll break down these principles and the things that we're going to be doing in the first, let's say 20, 30 minutes of this. And then we save basically the last, let's call it 45 minutes to an hour, guys, to just help you guys out as well. So just get ready, get your questions prepared. Know that the first maybe 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to just really be focused on Ray and all the cool things he's doing. And we're not forgetting about you, and we'll do the best we can to answer everyone's questions. I know that's impossible, so we'll get to as many as possible. If some of them are repeats, we may go skip on to another one. But other than that, guys, excited to be here. We're going to do whatever we can. Our whole goal is to add more value than we ever charge in price, which is free on this. So, guys, get ready. This is going to be some fun stuff.
Okay, so Ray, you're up, guys. So Ray, you guys, is from Tallahassee, Florida. He's in the Tallahassee market. He's about a year and a half from kind of jumping into real estate, but about 6 months where he's really been focusing on wholesaling as his primary method for investing. Which, by the way, Ray, that's a really great place to always start. From wholesaling, you can transition into other things if you want, or you can do like Cody and build just this massive wholesaling business that just crushes it in volume and margin, right? Or you can start to do some other types of things, maybe some fix and flip, maybe rentals or whatever other things. That's kind of up to you. But wholesaling is, I believe, and Cody, I know you must believe this, wholesaling is like the ultimate solution to solve all of your problems in life, right?
I mean, that's a good way of putting it. I've never been that strong with it. I think I'm like going to copyright what you just said and make sure I say that. Guys, this solves all of your problems. No, but what it does do, yes, it solves a lot of problems. Yes, I love wholesaling. It literally is. I truly believe it is one of the best ways to make a fortune in real estate without having much risk tied to it. And so I love it. I call it kind of my cash printer, my cash cow that feeds it to either get rentals or be able to do rehabs and get into the more things that are maybe a little bit more risky, but also, guys, risk comes reward. So there's this coin that when I say risk, I don't say that to scare you, because risk is also getting married. Risk is having kids, for heaven's sakes. I have 4, I don't have 10 like Jerry, but risk, guys, risk is, it surrounds us. And it's just another level of risk when you get into the fix and flip, but it's a model that I've adopted. We did 28 fix and flips last year, and the reward was greater than just simply assigning a contract. So I'm excited.
Definitely. So Ray, let's go here. We've got about 6 months into the business. You've done 3 or 4 wholesale deals now. You've come through my fast track program, which is a kind of a higher level, how to build the business doing this. And now you're at that place where it's like, okay, how do I go from this where I'm at, and how do I push it to that next level? So first of all, that looks different for everybody. So for you, Ray, what is your next level? How would you define where you want to get to now? What does that look like?
Well, ideally, long term, I'd like to be doing 100K plus a month. Just to be the cool thing I see a lot of top guys doing. But I mean, for now, I would like to focus on doing about 2 to 3 deals a month. So I can scale and get more employees. Focus on 6 figures a month.
Okay. So that's really good. So Cody, let's kind of think about what he just said here.
Yeah.
You kind of start wholesaling. At first, it can be a little sporadic, right? Like deal here, deal there. There's that inconsistent part of the business. And then what happens is I think we can kind of move into the 2 to 3 deals a month. And that's a big deal when you can kind of get to that 2 to 3, because now it's like, it's kind of consistent. You can kind of start to rely a little bit on the business. And then it feels like to me that the next level is you get to like the 5 level. And then I see, 99% of wholesalers kind of get stuck there at the 4 to 5 a month. Very few are able to transition into like the 10 a month, or maybe even into bigger kind of type of deals where you're hitting that, 6-figure monthly income, not 6-figure annual income. So let's talk about it with Ray. What would you say, Cody, kind of big picture? Is he on track? Is that kind of the right way to look at that? What do you think?
Yeah, and Ray, remind me, how many deals are you doing each and every month?
Well, I'm not doing deals consistently. I just closed a deal yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
There we go.
Fantastic. What do you feel like your bog on this? Because I think I can already help you with that, and then we're going to get right into how to do this, right? Well, there's this roller coaster, right? Most entrepreneurs and solopreneurs are going to experience a roller coaster. It can be from just you go out, you work your tail off, you get a deal, and then you kind of stop marketing and you deal all the way through closing, and you forget about keeping this marketing going. And so that's one big thing that I always see people doing is never let that marketing stop. And so I'm going to be asking you these questions here in a second, but that's one thing I see. And then the other thing is that it's just maybe they only have one marketing channel going and only X amount of dollars are going into it. And every marketing channel is cyclical. And so you feel the roller coaster, but it's the collaboration of multiple marketing channels, not brought on too soon. I still love if you're only doing one, I love that. And you only should bring on one at a time and not do 4 all at the same time. But ultimately what will happen is as you bring on more marketing channels, you start to see consistent deal flow where one may be in a cyclical down, could be the other cyclical up. And so I'm going to ask you first and foremost, do you feel like marketing is consistent in your business where you're sending out marketing and not once a month, but every single week?
Well, no, my marketing has not been consistent. That's something I've been trying to work on. I just partnered with your guy Brandon to do my ads on Facebook.
Oh, sweet.
So I'm trying to do that. I just recently hired another VA to cold call, so I'm trying to have them hit the phones all day.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm trying to do to keep it more consistent. Lately, previously, I would just be bouncing from shiny object syndrome from different marketing channels all the time. So I'm just trying to hone in on cold calling and Facebook ads.
Cold calling and Facebook ads. Okay, I love that. So inconsistent, that's already one thing you can do a change on. Do you feel like when a deal comes in, are spend now a good amount of time doing the disposition side as well. So there's not a lot of production going in on finding your next deal because you're having to find yourself help on the dispo side as well.
The last deal I did find myself I spent a lot of more time on it than I would like trying to sit. So I need a dispo manager as well. It's just something I know I'm planning for.
Yeah. And these are all good things. And you don't need to bring them on right now. These are just the questions you're having, right? Because first and foremost, Ray, I just appreciate you're vulnerable enough to share this with not just me and Jerry, with all of YouTube. Just so you know, you're not the only one in this boat. Just I want to be forewarned telling you, many individuals are here either beginning, they haven't even begun, they haven't done the first deal. And then there's some that are like, oh man, yeah, I'm not sending out marketing every week, or oh yeah, I am managing too much things. So right now, Ray, you're wearing all the hats, and that's okay. That's what we all had to do. That's what I had to do. And it got to the point where, how long have you been doing this, Ray?
I would say wholesaling consistently, maybe about 6 months.
Bro, this is fantastic. So wholesaling is only 6 months in. And so you're not going to get to the point yet. Notice I highlighted the word yet. Right now, you will be burning the candle on both ends, right? You'll at the top and the bottom, and sometimes even in the middle when we wear all the hats. And right now, it's almost like it's okay. Like I'm getting into this. I'm getting money. I'm producing. This is great. But what needs to happen is always have this question in mind. And I say this to everyone watching tonight is there'll be a point where you're going to have to think about making sure processes are in place and people are in place. And Jerry's really good at this, so I'm going to leave that portion to him. But I also want you to understand there's a point where it's going to have like this fear of like, oh man, I got to bring on someone. And what does that look like? And that's another family I have to be in charge of and make sure I feed and make sure there's enough deals coming in. But I also, what we don't really think about is what happens if we keep going down this road wearing all the hats. And for 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, it's actually scarier. And if we keep wearing all the hats and doing everything versus what fear we have around hiring someone or making the right processes and people put in place. Because what you'll find out is, yes, although scary, it's actually scarier if you stay where you're at, wearing all the hats. And so this is going to be fun to break down with you, Ray, and I'm excited to keep learning what you're doing. But those are two things up front. Consistent marketing, guys, is crucial. And then ultimately finding a process, maybe even having a title company be involved or something where they can take over the dispo side for you so that you can keep on bringing in the deals so that it doesn't feel cyclical. I feel like cyclical is coming from both areas for you, and that is lack of consistent marketing, but then also sometimes we take our focus off the acquisition side because we have to dispo the process as well. Jerry.
Yeah, so let me kind of piggyback on what Cody said there, Ray. So first of all, with that marketing, usually the limitation is in marketing budget, right? So if you're willing to share, what's your marketing budget look like right now? Do you feel like you've got your hands tied, or there's some limitations on your budget?
Well, for Facebook marketing, I'm spending about $100 a day.
Okay.
So that'll be about $3,000 a month.
Okay.
I don't know the stats of my cold caller. I think they're like $9 an hour. I'm paying a company to manage them, so I don't have to be as hands-on. I'm monitoring their calls and doing all the coaching and stuff. So that's why I'm paying a little more for that. Okay. And they work 30 hours a week.
About 30 hours a week on the cold callers? On one cold caller?
Yes, one cold caller.
Okay. So guys, in Raylon, I'm not sure if you know this metric, but kind of if you look big picture industry standard, and Cody, I'd love to hear if you agree with this, but on average, you're going to spend around $3,000 to $5,000 as kind of an average for a per contract in marketing cost. Now that doesn't cover sales commission if you have an acquisitions person, but that would be in marketing dollars, which would include your cold callers, your ads, all of those things. If you're doing other things like direct mail, whatever it is you're spending on, then a metric to kind of gauge is around that $3,000 to $5,000 per contract. So I love that number just because it really helps you set some expectations, and you can kind of do the math in your head and say, okay, well, if I want to go from 1 deal a month to 3 deals a month, then what is that going to look like in my marketing? Not just the processes, those have to be dialed in. So one thing that, Cody talks a lot about is, or I've heard him talk about is, you don't want to be spending money if you don't have your processes dialed in. Otherwise, you're going to be blowing a lot of money, like when the phones ring, you better be able to answer them and you better be able to close them, right? So there's that part, the processes part. But first and foremost, it's impossible to grow the business if you can't dedicate the appropriate funds for marketing to generate leads, to generate contracts, right? So I think a lot of times people get in this business and they have really unrealistic expectations that they're going to be able to grow a business without really a marketing budget. And that is the one side of wholesaling where, if you could say there's risk, it's spending money on marketing before you're ready, or not being able to handle the lead flow, or not having good conversion in place. Does that make sense? So the first question I would ever ask somebody before I tell them it's time to spend more money on marketing would be, how confident are you and how do you feel about your processes? I would not recommend spending more money on marketing unless you feel like those are in place, or that you manage the new lead flow by doing more money or by spending more money on marketing. Now, Cody, would you agree with that?
100% agree with that. In fact, to put a number to it, guys, you just shared some beautiful KPIs to track. If you can get a cost between 3 to 5K for conversion, you're like, I want 3 deals. Realize that you're going to be $9,000 to $15,000 in ad spend or marketing spend to pull that in. So I love that KPI. That's awesome. The other one is that you just said is making sure the process is in place. And Ray, I already love that you're just doing deals. Like, this is what excites me. And then check your process though. What does it look like? One question I ask, are you answering live? Are you doing this full time, or is this part time?
It's full time.
Full time. Are you answering live? You said it's cold calling is what you're generating right now, right? And then you're turning on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, so you are doing live. Here's another KPI to track, and you don't need to know this right now, but another KPI for all of us to track, this is for everyone, is what does it look like on our closing ratio? Are majority of our deals coming from close on the spot, or are they being done through follow-up? Cold calling, what you see, Ray, is cold calling is probably my longest from the moment of talking to someone to closing them. It's my longest time frame marketing channel. And so that's another reason why you'll feel some inconsistency. Is it really is like, I think our average right now from start to close is right around 4 months from the first moment we have contact to closing it. Where on the website, here's what's going to excite you, Ray. Facebook is going to narrow that gap quite a bit, but to narrow that gap even more is pay per click, where people are literally saying, buy my house fast for cash, and there's those paid ads up top. Those ones are like, you can literally close one on the spot on the the same day, but they're also, I think our average pay per click, I think, is like 17 days. And so it's our littlest time frame to close a deal from start to finish.
By the way, Cody, so Ray mentioned Brandon. So Brandon he specializes in that online marketing that Cody's talking about here. And so
we'll get a banner up for you, Jerry, on that, by the way.
I was just going to say, or we'll put it in the comments, but those of you that have a little bit of marketing budget, minimum $50 a day is what Brandon requires. But he can get you on the scene with Facebook and Google ads. So, reach out to him, let him know what you can do. Obviously, the more you can do, the faster he can get you results, but he's really, really good at that. So thank you.
I'm going to put that up there and do it on a scroll so it's on the bottom. Guys, this guy does analysis for you all the time. So it's also just to have a conversation who Ray's talking about. That way you guys have access to it. But if you do this, he'll take care of you. He'll hook you
Yeah,
up.
he's really good. So Ray, you started with Brandon. How long ago did you start with online?
Maybe it was like a day after I saw Cody on the podcast, Steve
Okay.
Train. So,
Oh, it's Steve Train?
Okay.
Train?
yeah, it's
Okay,
maybe
so
like a week ago.
Recently,
Yeah.
so you're going to need to give it a little bit of time, right? But right now you're spending $3,000 a month on those ads. So I mean, you should be looking at generating a deal. A deal every 30 days or so from the results of that. That's a good gauge to kind of keep yourself in check with, is it working? Now, if you're spending, let's say you spend that money and you don't get a deal, I would really reevaluate and say, okay, did something break down? Now you can't just go off a 30-day window, right? That's not enough data to
Get the 6 months on.
Yeah, give it 6 months, but start to kind of look at that and then ask yourself, where is it breaking down? Is something breaking down in my sale process? And where is that? And just asking that question is going to help you look at your business and try to identify that. So most of us have holes in the boat in our business, right? And we want to figure out.
By the way.
Yeah, we want to figure out where those holes are and plug them so that we can be successful. And I love your spend. I think that's a great spend. $3,000 a month on your Facebook. That's awesome. You're spending 30 hours with a cold caller. That's awesome. Honestly, Ray, I think if we were having this discussion 6 months from now, I think it'd be a totally different story. I think you'd be really, really happy with your results, hopefully, because you're doing the stuff that is hard to do, which is, I'm in my infancy. I don't have a ton of money coming in yet from my deals, but I'm willing to reinvest back into the business with marketing.
Amazing.
And that's just game changer. Like, that's how you progress to that next level that a lot of people are really slow or reluctant to do. So, kudos to you. You're on the right track.
I had an individual, Ray, that literally did like 4 deals. He went through my coaching program and it clicked with him. And the probably about 90 days into it, there's this post, and he's driving this Ferrari. And I literally called him up and I said, please tell me that was a rental, or please tell me that was your friend's. He's like, oh no, dude, I've always wanted a Ferrari. Mr. Student is no longer wholesaling anymore. Ended up not being able to do as many deals he thought because he felt the stress of this $1,700 payment, which I don't even pay on any of my rentals, by the way, on this car, and he lost everything. So I love the fact that you're just like reinvesting. This is crucial. Guys, for a good book, a good tip out there, I do love Profit First. It's by Mike Michalowicz, and he has a very simple breakdown of like, here's X amount of percent goes to you, goes to whether you have a tithing budget, whatever you want, and then how much percent should be breaking out so that when every dollar comes in, you literally break it up into these accounts within your bank account so that that's it. That's all you have to spend on it, but that you're always reinvesting in the business. So I love what you're doing. I love that you're investing in web. Web is the way of the future, guys. I really can't tell you enough. I'm so excited about web. No matter where we go, Ray, on no matter who types in what in Utah, we're number one on the SEO, meaning the stuff that's just organic. And to be first in organic cost me maybe 10 grand a year to be first in organic. And that brought in over $300,000 in 2020. So web is definitely a great place to be investing. I love that you're doing that. Facebook is a little longer than PPC, but it's a great place to start. You're going to get deals from there. And it's at a wide funnel, and the cost per lead is super low. You're going to love all that. Tell me this. Say that again, Jerry.
I was just going to say, on your cold calling, Ray, and anybody else who does cold calling, make sure you have realistic expectations. I would say, you want to be following up quite a bit on those leads and understand you might have a 6 month, Cody mentioned 4 to 6 month sales cycle with most of those leads because you're reaching out to them, right? So you're going to be catching a lot of those people early on in the tire kicking stage. But if you stay consistent with the follow-up, then when that day comes when they're ready and they're motivated and something happens in their life where they're ready to do it now, you're the one they think of to call, or you're in touch with them, right? So I think I read a statistic like 80% of sales are in the 5th to 12th follow-up.
That's correct.
And so a lot of times people throw these leads away like, oh, they're not interested, and they never call them again. When what you should do is this is what I do, Ray, is I take part of that cold calling time and hours, and I dedicate that to follow-up, not just new calls, but follow-up calls. In fact, a really smart way to budget might be when you're ready to bring on some more dollars on cold calling. What I do is we have a full-time follow-upper. I don't know what we call them, but they just follow up.
I like the name of that, follow-upper. It's a full-time follow-upper.
So what it looks like, Ray, is 5 to 12 times, right, on the initial contact, and then they go into the follow-upper bucket, and then that just gets a drip, constant drip until it's a blatant, absolutely no, stop talking to me. We'll try to work that and stay in touch with that lead, as long as we can to make that sale happen. And so the fortune's in the follow-up. If you've heard that before, the fortune's in the follow-up. Yeah. That applies also with all your other lead types, but especially with cold calling.
Yeah, Ray, one thing write down that I think is going to be crucial, real-time numbers. We're about 100 hours per contract cold calling. That way, it'll give you something to judge how well your cold callers are doing. If they're at 120 hours, there's got to be either more training involved, listening and helping them get better, or cutting ties and getting someone that can do it better. If you can get around the 100-hour mark per deal, we pay our cold callers about $20 an hour, so you're about $2,000, and that keeps you below that threshold, right, of $3,000 to $5,000 cost per conversion. Especially if you're going to be doing the acquisitions, there won't be any commissions paid to an acquisition manager, so you can see how there can be a profit. Tallahassee, correct me if I'm wrong, Tallahassee's got to be around a $12,000 to $18,000 assignment. I mean, what's average down there?
I couldn't tell you what the average is. I tried finding like who are the top wholesalers, but
I would say it's probably in that range. And then through processes, you can expand it.
I mean, the highest I've done so far is about 11K.
Okay.
I'm sure I could get higher spreads, but just getting started.
So Cody, going back to the reinvestment idea, what I have a number that I kind of think is a good idea. What do you think is a good number that somebody should reinvest from a wholesale deal? So you pound the pavement, you do whatever you got to do, you get your wholesale deal done. How much of that should be reinvested back into the business? And maybe we'll talk real quickly about what areas that money can be reinvested in, because it's not just marketing, I don't think.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb is I like the range of a minimum 25%, and then I go up to about 40%. So it just depends, but that's the range where I like to be at, so that I can keep it going and growing. And then there's a point where you don't need to be at 40%. Like the months you're bringing in, I take that back, even the months we're doing that. So here's where I say the 40%. At the beginning stages, I'd say 25%, and you're going to be fine. It's just going to be, you want to grow as you're doing deals, grow that, but ultimately 40%, and that's not a bad number, guys. So it's not unlikely for us to do a $200,000, $250,000 month on average. We're about $227,000 on average that we do a month. So with those, we take 40%. So take about 45,000, let's say, and we're reinvesting it back into marketing. That's where I like to be. I think that can vary, but no less than 25%.
Yeah. So to add to what Cody's saying here, I kind of look at 3 different ways to reinvest in your business. And again, if you can reinvest 100%, that all the better, right? Like if you don't need any of that money, think how much faster you're going to grow. But I love the 25, 40, maybe 50% back into the business, especially in the beginning. And then it gets to a point where it's like Cody was saying, where it just self-generates, right? So it's not really costing anything because he's taking the revenue generated and putting it back into the business. So it's really paying for itself. But if you think about it, there's kind of 3 main things. I look at it as marketing, which is a really big one. Training and coaching, that's going to really propel your business. And then maybe tools and software to help you manage your processes better. Those are kind of the 3 areas that you want to be thinking about all the time as you build and grow your business and scale. without those three things, you really can't get to that next level. And that's not even to mention training and bringing on, talented people. So, those are kind of some ideas, guys, to really be thinking about as you do those deals. So like Cody said, don't go buy that Ferrari when you do that home run deal, right? That's
like, come on.
The worst thing you could do is increase your standard of living, guys. Keep it down as low as you possibly can. Make those financial sacrifices until that business is printing money. Then, I got no problem with spending money and having nice cars and all that stuff. But work out of the garage until you're busting at the seams, right? And that's how you really build a good business.
Ray, what kind of questions do you have maybe that we can do before we switch over to Q&A? What kind of things what would add best value and serve you the most tonight?
Well, that's a hard question, but I do have one question that I want to follow up with Jerry. You mentioned you just hired a follow-upper. Is that just like a local person or a virtual assistant?
It's your same cold caller, same cold callers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm looking to hire acquisition manager.
You're using a service for $9 an hour. Go back to your guy when you're ready and say, hey, rather than doing the front call, the first call, I want to dedicate whatever it is, 10 hours a week to follow up.
Yeah.
And then that new caller, that's all they're doing is they're just calling back those leads.
Mm-hmm. And do you try to have them close?
Say that again.
Do you try to have them close as well, or just gauge interest?
I don't know. Our cold callers just pre-qualify. They gather information, and then you want your acquisitions salesperson. If that's you. But you want a real closer to do the close.
100% agree with you, Jerry.
Yeah. Now, I do a lot of my deals virtually. Cody does his backyard. Your backyard too, Ray. So that means appointment, right? You want to set that appointment, and you want to get in front of that seller and close that deal.
Yeah. Have them get to the point where they just qualifying questions. I don't mind, Jerry. I can put out a script for cold calling that I use all the time. I'm trying to think what link we can put it in. I got to get you those so you just have them. We'll just put out some links for that. Guys, I'll include that. So when this ends, we'll build a link for that, and Jerry will include it in his show notes so that you have a script.
I'll give you my scripts too. We can put those in the comments, Cody, afterward.
Yep. Ray, I love what you're doing, brother. I commend you. 6 months in, you're doing deals. It's part of the entrepreneurship roller coaster, right? Like there's deals some months, deals no months. Keep pushing. Don't ever allow yourself to not think outside the box and get people. But make sure those processes are dialed in. Very true, like a very real life experience we can look at, guys, whether you hate the company or not. McDonald's is very process driven. I mean, it's this point to where they have pump to squirt the ketchup and the mustard at the same time, like 3 pickles. Notice that there's not 4 pickles. Notice that there's not 2 pickles. There's 3 pickles on a burger, right? It's a process. And whether someone shows up to work or not, it doesn't bug them because they're like, sweet, I'll just move on to the next person. If you're going to show up and not show up to work, they've got 150 applicants waiting for them in line. And they've got a process so dialed in, Ray, that they don't even have to train them face to face. They've got it all digitalized. So it's like videos that show them how to squirt the ketchup, or videos that show them how to open up the bun and put the patty on it. It's very process driven. And so I always tell people, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. That's a good one to always remember. So if I said, hey, what's your process for acquisitions? And that's for everyone on here. And you tell me from head, that's not a process. That's a nightmare. It's got to be written down. So make sure if it's not written down, it does not exist. So that's the crucial thing. Start taking time to build what's going right for you, Ray, and everyone out there listening. What are the things that you are doing right? And start making a video of it. Like every time you pull a list for your cold callers, there's got to be a process so you don't have to pull the list next time. So get very granular and like get your mouse and be like, okay, and be video driven with your VAs. So you'd be like, hey guys, you're going to type in, see this spot right here, and you're highlighting with your mouse. You're going to type in www.listsource.com. And then when you come to this page, see this button right here, and you're going to circle it, and you're going to be like, now what I want you to do is click there. Okay, there's this spot here. I want you to type in, so this spot right here, type in blah, 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 blah. Like, make it so granular, make it so easy that if you hired my 7-year-old, he could be like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. I can jump into this today. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Process before people. So that's a crucial thing.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing to think about, Ray, and I saw a comment about a $6 an hour VA cold caller. Guys, your cold callers is not an area you want to skimp on. Not all VAs are created equally. I would not be putting a $5, $6 VA on the phone. So my VAs, we pay $12 an hour. Cody does not even hire overseas virtual VAs to cold call. You pay even more, don't you, Cody? And you have American.
I have 6 in house, and I have 4 out of the country, and 2 of them are through a service. We're just barely, Jerry. So we're just barely getting to the point where we're actually doing the finding now, because so many people are coming to us because they love our process.
Yeah.
That we provide that service, that cold call service. But yeah, we do love. We just found 2 people in Israel, and they're phenomenal.
Okay.
They're phenomenal. But they're not $6 either.
No, because so guys, you put the wrong cold callers on the phone and you hand them a script. It doesn't mean it's going to go well. Now I'm not saying, Ray, your cold callers at $9 an hour are bad. I'm not saying they're good, but I would shadow a little bit. I would definitely listen to them on the phone some, and imagine you're the seller, and how would that experience look for you? And the reason why I know this is I've had cold callers call me, and it was terrible. And I was thinking, whatever flipper is paying for this cold caller is wasting money, because I couldn't even understand what they were asking me. Their scripts were terrible, really thick accent, and it was just not a good experience. Had I been a motivated seller, it would have not been a good experience. So just keep that in mind when you're ready to then get a VA on the phone. It's not the same as your data entry. I've got a whole team of the $4, $5, and $6 VAs, but I don't put them on the phones. Okay. Right. So that's another thing to be thinking about when you're ready to transition into cold calling. And having said that, also, guys, the last thing you want to be doing is cold calling. That is not leveraging yourself as a business owner. I mean, maybe for a minute, but guys, you want to get out of that as quickly as possible. I kind of feel the same way about you cold calling as I do about you driving for dollars. That's not leveraging your time very well if you personally drive for dollars. Now, get 100 people in your market driving for dollars for you. I'm all about that. Get a cold caller on the phone, cold calling for you. That's growing a business. But doing it yourself, just know that you're going to create a lot of limitation because it's so time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Ray, I love your questions, man. Anything else before we hop over to Q&A?
Yeah, actually, I have a list of questions I wanted to run by you guys.
Let's go. Go to the next one. Let's do it. And then we'll do some Q&A right after this one.
What would you guys say is your most bang for your buck marketing channel?
Ooh.
Right. I know it's online for you, but.
Well, no, not really. Here's how I'd answer that, because it's the same answer for whatever marketing channel you're using. It's the one you focus on. And I know that sounds crazy. That sounds completely absurd. I get that. But there is a process tied to each one of them. Every one of them are very much profitable for us. So let me get down to our lowest cost per conversion. It is web marketing. It definitely is web marketing. Our highest cost per conversion, after commissions and all that fun stuff and all the other it's cold calling. That's our highest cost per conversion. So here's where I say, Ray, also is the process. Cold calling, long cycle, a lot of follow-up. When it comes to web leads, Ray, it's urgency. I can't say that word enough in trainings, to my team, to anyone I speak with on a weekly basis that I talk to, or that have hired me or have hired Jerry. It's urgency. Those web leads need urgency, meaning, an example. we had an individual that filled out a web form, and it was smoking hot. Like, it's stuff that you're like, oh my goodness. Like, I wish people would tell me this on the phone as quick as she just spit it out on paper. Like, I'm doing this, I need to move quick, I hate this house, I hate living in Utah, like I'm doing this. And in 10 minutes, guys, from 10 minutes from the moment that web form came in, we had called 3 times, we had left 3 voicemails, and we had left 3 text messages with no response. So 9 points of contact with urgency. We write stories that were like, man, maybe this isn't as hot as I thought it was. But instead, we don't write that story. We figure out the story. And so my acquisition manager just went to the house unannounced and went in there. 2 hours later, came out of the contract. It's still our largest assignment, $124,000. So the biggest thing, Ray, is urgency. How fast to get back to them and treat every lead with respect. And by respect, I mean that you're on the phone with them, or that you're talking to them to qualify them and not disqualify them. Too many times we pick up the phone and we're trying to disqualify them. Like, they're not motivated, by what he said on the price, and we're like, next. I'm here to say, no, let's get on the phone to qualify him. Okay, you say you want 300,000. If 300,000 is too high, still stay on the phone. Awesome. It sounds like you know what you want for the property. Sounds good. So tell me a little bit about the property and move on. Just don't let that, instead of disqualify him saying, I'm looking on Zillow and that's saying 300,000. So that's darn near, that's already a high number. They're not motivated. Just say, perfect. You know the price. That's fantastic. Now tell me a little bit about the property. And then you really want to find out the why. Me and Jerry talked about in his 2-day fast track. And we also talked about it in some YouTube content that we did on Jerry's channel about the 4 pillars: time frame, right? Condition, price, and driver. Don't worry so much about price and make it, if price is high, it's okay, because there's still timeline, meaning people need to get out of the house in 10 days. Awesome. That's a sign of motivation. Condition, it's trash. There's homeless people living in it. Awesome. That's a sign of motivation. And then driver, I'm going through divorce. I'm behind on my taxes. I'm behind on my mortgage. I just got a code violation. I'm getting foreclosed on. These are the drivers, right? I don't care what price is if there's these other pillars in place. And so when you say what's like your most profitable, it's the one you focus on, but just make sure you're always spending time to qualify the lead and not disqualify the lead. And you'll find out that every marketing channel is profitable.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. All right, Ray.
Oh, got another question as well.
Okay, let's hit it, and then we'll jump into some Q&A.
Okay. Well, if you guys had to start over from scratch, you didn't have any referrals or money, what would be like the first thing you would do to get back into the business?
I know my answer. Want me to go, Cody?
I'd love to hear your answer.
Well, so for me, when I got started, there wasn't a lack of motivation. There wasn't a lack of work ethic. I didn't have a confidence issue. I didn't have a fear of taking action. A lot of people have that, and I get it. I didn't have any of that. I was highly motivated. I'd made up my mind I was going to do it, and I was all in. My problem was I was so dang stubborn that I thought I had to figure it all out on my own. And so I didn't get mentorship or training for, I think, about 2 years into the business. And I didn't realize I didn't realize how valuable that was until I finally invested into training and mentorship. And I was blown away at the return on investment that was, and how quickly I was able to progress, and how much I realized I was in my own way of my own growth. And so from that moment on, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are listening. You guys are spending your time right now listening to this. But guys, I cannot put enough of a price tag on good training, good mentorship. For me, in all areas of my life, what I do is I find someone who's at a level I want to be at. I go to that person and I pay them whatever they want to charge, because if I can implement even some of what they're telling me to do and identifying what's holding me back, I'll 10x my growth from that, right? So, and Raylon, you've come to my training, and I know you invest in training and mentorship. So this is maybe less for you, more for everybody else. But guys, for me personally, if I could go back, when I go back and look at my first couple of years in the business, now I would give my right arm to go back and have got more advanced coaching and mentoring and training earlier, because I think I would have saved or made hundreds of thousands of dollars that I didn't need to not make. So that's personally my experience.
I would love to piggyback, but there's nothing to piggyback on to that. But so here, let me throw an angle that might help you, Ray. What Jerry said, though, never changes. You're always going to try and get better. The individual that came to Tony Robbins and said, "Hey, I want to be where you're at," right? And Tony Robbins like, "And when you do, you'll be where I was." Like he's like, at the end of the day, even Tony Robbins is finding his next mentor to get better. And so that's an ongoing thing. Never stop surrounding yourself with the individual that you want to become. And that is crucial in life. Jim Rohn, you're the average of the 5 closest individuals you spend the most time with. And so many times we feel like those 5 people are always going to be the same person. That's always shifting. And those 5 people are going to be 5 for maybe wholesaling, 5 for how to become a great husband, 5 for how to become spiritual, 5 how to become a great dad. You're finding the best. So Ray, the best thing I can tell you, and what I would tell myself, again, mentorship would be the first. That's what I did. I had no money, but again, like Jerry, I didn't lack drive. I'll outwork anyone. I'm that guy. So all I lacked was the know-how, the step-by-step instruction. So once I got that, it was just game on. I would go act as hard as I could. But to throw this out there, I want you to always think, Ray, what can you do? Who's in your life right now that you would gladly trade places with? And I would only go seek advice from that individual, because if you go find advice on Facebook, if you go find advice on YouTube, although we both have YouTube channels, I'm not knocking our YouTube channels. What I'm saying is, even within my Facebook group, I have people that will come in there and ask a question, and then I'll read the answer from some of the people that are in the group. I'm like, I don't know if that guy's ever done a deal, because that's completely wrong. And so you get what you pay for, right? When you go to the free Facebook group, you could take action. It could be the complete wrong action. So the best thing I always has found out, only take advice from people I'm willing to trade places with. Although my dad is an incredible dad, I would not take his advice on how to grow a rental portfolio. Why? Because he doesn't own a rental portfolio. So I can't even go to him and say, "Hey, Dad, what's your thoughts on a rental portfolio?" Well, because he's never owned one, let me tell you what happened. My very first rental, he says, "Why are you buying that?" Dude, there's a lot of work with that. That's crazy. In fact, I don't know why you're doing that. They trash your home. You're going to find out that this could be a bad investment for you, Cody. And I remember telling him, I said, "Dad, how many rentals do you have?" And he says, "I don't have any." I said, "Dad, you know I love you and I respect you as a dad. That's why I seek your advice at becoming a good dad. But I have to throw everything you just said out the door because you've never owned a rental." And he's like, "Touche." So make sure you only take advice from someone you're willing to trade places with. You would never go to a Walmart bagger, although important, to learn how to make $1 million. You just wouldn't do that. And you have to make sure, Ray, everything you're doing in life, who are you willing to trade places with for that advice? It better be someone that you're like, "Ooh, I'm trading. I will seek advice from this guy because I'm willing to trade places in that specific area." Jerry is fantastic at this, and it could be someone completely different for another area of your life. It's never going to be Jerry for being a dad, Jerry for being a coach, Jerry for being a flipper, Jerry for being a spiritual individual, although Jerry, by the way, nails it out of the ballpark in a lot of those areas. I'm just saying, seek advice from those you're willing to trade places with.
Awesome.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, are we ready for some live Q&A, Cody?
Dude, I love this. This is going to be good. And Ray, I want you staying on because you're going to add some advice here. I know people are going to be like, "Ray, where did you get your first deal from?" There's going to be so many questions. You're going to be like, "Perfect," and chime in. We need your help. We love it. So let's get going. Here's one I want to throw out there, Jerry. Does Jerry still do mentorship?
Yeah, guys. So you can check out that program. Just go to fasttrackwithjerry.com, fasttrackwithjerry.com. It's my more advanced training program. We actually partner on deals together, so it's pretty fun. So you can check that out there as well. Yep.
Awesome. This I love. Yikes! Sorry I'm late. Ready to learn. And then we had Q&A coming up. Great teaching opportunity for all. Okay, so let's get going, guys. I know there was so many questions up above. What I would ask you is please type them again, because it's going to get hard to find all these questions that existed up above. I'll do my best, but please, please, please.
And Cody, we're going to pick the ones first relative to the topic. So, you know, if you really want to get on the screen, try to pick something relative to what we've been talking about here so far. Of course, we're going to try to get to as many as we can, but just keep that in mind.
Well, let's throw this out there before we get to the Q&A. Ray, you have Instagram, because you got an Insta fam going on over here.
I do, but I don't really use it.
Okay, that's enough said.
You're doing deals, Cody, to be on Instagram.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I have
hey, what do you guys?
but
Here we go. This is a good one.
that's me.
That's you. You're asking a question on our own Q&A, bro?
Yeah.
Ray, that's cheating. You're on the show and you're asking questions.
Okay, hold on. We're coming back to you, Ray, in a second. Let's see. I love that this guy just full on goes right around the system. All right. What does your acquisition and disposal or disposition, I'm assuming, system look like? Disposal, I have one in the kitchen sink, and I have one. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. What does our acquisition and disposition system look like? Acquisition, for our Utah division, we have 3 acquisition managers. We have about a 45 to 50K marketing spend for Utah. How that system works is we never want any one acquisition manager in charge or managing more than 25 leads at a time. We only want them working on the hot leads. When I define hot, I'd say within the next 30 to 45 days that are expecting to close, because if you'll do this is a secret, guys. Put yourself on every wholesaler's cash buyers list and look at how many deals you're missing out on. This lets you know there was X amount of deals that were willing to close right now, but they chose someone else to go with, maybe because of lack of follow-up or because your message never got in front of that individual. So the crucial thing is to make sure that as an acquisition team, if you're scaling, you have a team in place, they are only working on the 45 days. For our team, it's 30 days and less. And from 30 to about 60 days, it goes to a different person on the team that's not my acquisition manager. And then they're managing that. And then when it gets to the point where it's 30 days or less, they shift it back over to the acquisitions. And then that like 90-day period and more, it goes back onto our cold callers list. And then, like I said, guys, that's our biggest pool, but it also is one of our ones that they only need a touch once a month or something like that. And then when it gets shifted to the medium, it could be once a week. And then shifted to the hot, it's like once a day. So that's what our acquisition process looks like. Disposition is, guys, we go for a very, 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 very big cash buyers list. We're over 9,000 here in Utah, and we are always looking for highest and best. We are in this for profit. We're not in this to, we're here to present deals to people, and we take the highest and best offer. We don't get the first person that says they want it. That's how I started, and then I realized I became a cash buyer's employee versus my own owner. So the big thing there is for disposition, we send out the deals, and we always have the word suggested starting price. We put a price out there, and then we let them call in their offers. We never share those offers with any other cash buyer. And from there, we just take the highest and best offer so that we can make the most money on each and every amount of our deals. So we're really good at negotiation, but we also are really good at disposition so that we can maximize how much we make on each deal.
And guys, I hope thank you, Cody. You guys go back and rewatch this when the live is over, because he gave away some really good business processes there with his acquisition and disposition. One thing, Cody, that I'll add to what you just said there is a really big deal, guys, is you can structure your acquisition and disposition entirely on commission or production, meaning, and then they don't get paid until a deal funds, right? So in other words, zero overhead. This is a big deal, right? No overhead to have these, to build this part of the business out. So the acquisitions is going to be commission based. I follow similar to what Cody does, where you can start at like a 10% of the wholesale commission or wholesale profit as a commission. And then you can do a kind of a tiered level throughout the month. That keeps them hungry to hit the next tier and keep working on the phones. Disposition though, guys, don't be spending as much on dispo. I see a lot of people paying out big commissions on dispo. Really, dispo is like an admin role. It's if you do it right, and if you're building a list, it's putting the deal out there, and then buyers, gobble them up. So it's not like you got to pay out a lot of money to dispo your deals. Okay, so a couple things to keep in mind there as you're starting to put people in place in your business.
Love that. Where do you guys find good hire for your staff and team?
Ooh.
I know where my answer is right away. Ray, you haven't had to hire anyone yet, right?
No, I have 2 employees.
Where did you find them?
First one was onlinejobs.ph. That was my admin VA. I initially hired them for another business, but I've since transitioned to real estate, so they're doing admin tasks for me.
Yep.
And the other employee I hired through not Batch, I'm sorry. I can't think of what it's called. VA Hub, I'm sorry. VAHub.com.
Okay.
So
fantastic. For me, Jerry, you want to tack this first or me?
Go ahead, Cody.
So for hiring guys, I'm not a monster.com or like ZipRecruiter. I feel like those ones feed me a bunch of phenomenal resumes, and after 3 days, you're like, man, you lied like crap all over that resume. Like, it is so bad, right? Like, you're like, where did this come from? You guys said you could do this, and you haven't done one thing. What I do, ours are all family or friends, and everything comes from referral. So we have a very, very tight culture where we have we hire based off of culture and mission. We don't hire off of, man, I've been the top closer. And if the guys or the girl is like a complete, like self-centered, non-servant heart, but they're a good closer, they won't find a spot on my team. This is very, very much culture-driven, mission-driven. Our mission is improving lives with creative real estate solutions. And then our culture is all about, notice that I'm not going to say hardcore closer. Our culture is like the characteristics we're looking from: loyal, trustworthy. I mean, you might as well do the Scout motto here, but kind, charitable, like loving. I'm hiring off of that because real estate's actually very easy. Wholesaling is very easy. I would much rather teach someone how to do wholesaling than teach someone how to be honest or teach someone how to be trustworthy. I don't even want to deal with that. So we just go off of, again, we have family work for us, but we also have friends, and then referrals that are friends of friends. And we have built just an incredible, incredible floor because we know what we get right from day one versus this beefed up, padded up resume that they never quite fulfill.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, Cody, I can't remember the last time we hired somebody off of a resume put out there or whatever. So I totally agree with that. Now, one thing I'll add to this idea here, guys, when it comes to your hires is I have a philosophy that I believe in completely, and that is talent will only follow vision. And what I mean by that is talented people who are committed and loyal and hardworking and skilled and going places and driven, they will not attach to a train that they don't feel is going somewhere big, right? So talent only follows vision. You're the visionary. You're the business owner. You're the visionary. And if you want to attract quality people into your organization, they have to buy into your vision. Even if you're brand new and you're not there yet, even if you're not producing results yet, if you can convey that to them and they can see that, then they will attach to you and they'll go there with you and they'll help you build it if you're in the beginning, right? But you have to be that visionary. And that means development, personal development. You've got to become somebody that inspires. You've got to become a leader. And that is the only way you're going to get talented people. We do not hire your brother-in-law who's out of work because he needs a job. You start doing that, you're not going to have a successful business. You want talent, and talent will only follow vision. So remember that as you're looking for how to attract really quality people.
So good. A players are looking for A leaders. You may be able to hire them, but you won't keep them if you're not an A leader. They're looking for a visionary. I love that, Jerry. That is fantastic. You're only going to attract who you are. Make sure you understand that. You want good quality people, become a good quality leader.
Which is why, Cody, you said wholesaling's easy. I mean, really, when you dial in the steps, there's not a whole lot, right? We're going to get a contract, we're going to sign it, done. But your personal development, that's an ongoing process, and that should be a big part of your daily activity, is growing yourself, becoming better yourself all the time, constant working on yourself, and that's how you're going to really grow to those new levels. Love that, Jerry. Ray, this would be something you can chime in on and get some value. You just started 6 months ago, you said. I love the speed, the traction you're already getting. What were some of the things out of the beginning that allowed you to feel comfortable and confident to have the credibility to do your first deal?
I would say just jump in. Don't get too stuck with analysis paralysis. Like just gonna have to do it. You're gonna make mistakes along the way, but as long as you keep moving forward, you'll build credibility and confidence. Another thing, if you're referring to other investors, I would say don't put out bad deals because you'll get blacklisted. So you wanna try to provide value, not try to make a bunch of money on something that's not a deal.
I love that. Here's what I love what you said, Ray, and I'm going to break this down so granular, guys. Notice how he didn't say, well, you've got to partner with people and have 5 deals under your belt before you can gain credibility. Here's what I would say, Michael. Don't worry about credibility, because I've never had a seller ask for credibility. It just comes with just going out there and serving them, loving them, listening to them. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionately, and seek to understand before being understood. If you do that, you'll never have to bring up, and they'll never ask, well, how many homes have you bought? We just don't get asked that. Now that we've done deals, we can say that, but I've never been asked, how many deals have you done? We're looking for someone that's done a deal. We don't get asked that. And so credibility is more of a mindset than it is a reality of what you're actually going to see in the marketplace. Just go out there with confidence that you're just going to outserve your competition and love these people more than they're going to love them, and you're going to do a deal. Mark my words.
Yeah, to add to that, Cody, I would say the more you try to be credible, the less credible you are, because credibility isn't some kind of thing that you portray, right? It's not like there's some credentials to do this, right? You don't need. What are the credentials to do this? There aren't any. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any kind of, in most states, you don't have to have really any licensing, with some exceptions. But the credibility I believe, is in vulnerability. So what I mean by that is, if you can just be real with people, if someone says something to you and you don't know what they're talking about or you don't get it, being credible doesn't mean having all the answers. Being vulnerable is saying, well, what do you mean by that? Tell me what that means. Can you help me understand what you just said, or what it is that you're looking to do? I'm here to serve. Help me understand you. You don't have to have all the answers. Sometimes we think coming in this business, we have to have all the answers. I'm amazed after doing this for 17 years, how much I learned, guys. I don't know if you guys watched it, but earlier this week, was it Monday maybe? I had Cody critique one of my calls, and I learned so much. Cody showed me things on my call that I could do better. And guys, I don't have an ego. If Cody can show me something that'll make me better, I want to know about it. And I'm vulnerable enough to ask and say, Cody, help me. You're really good at this. Help me out, right? And so just go into this business with this empty cup, so to say, and be such a sponge, even with your sellers, even with investors, even with partners, cash buyers. And you'll learn and grow so fast and so much.
I love that. In fact, to return the fact that there's things that I still don't know. Jerry was kind enough. We hopped on the phone today, and I said, Jerry, what's your thoughts on that? And he broke it down. He's like, yeah, that's not going to work like that. Yeah, that's not going to work like that. And so there was plenty I learned from him today on a 1-hour phone call that I was like, dude, solid. And it gave me my clarity. It gave me my vision to now go full steam ahead. But it's because I'm also willing to trade him places on the advice I received. and that was crucial. Another thing is don't be a chameleon. There's a lot of coaching out there that says become a chameleon. If they like dogs, you like dogs, and if they like purple, you like purple. Guys, people will see right past that. That I do not. I was at Jerry's house a little over a week ago, and Jerry says, "Hey, this is my cat," and I said, "Dude, I hate cats. Those are target practice at my house." Like, did I not say that? Like almost verbatim.
My cat's missing. Where did it go?
Dude, it was an amazing hunt. No, it was, guys, I'm telling you, don't be a chameleon. You don't have to like what they like. And that doesn't mean you're being rude. Like if someone says, I like cats, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I like cats, what I say is, man, that's interesting. What is it about cats that you like? And maybe they're going to say, well, I love the fact that it plays with my 3-year-old kid. Now we're getting in common. Oh my gosh, 3-year-old kid. What's your 3-year-old's name? Sally. Oh my gosh, your Sally would love my little helper. She's 3 years old, and she is just like, she rules the roost. She owns daddy. And now we're getting on common terms on where I can get in common. But notice I didn't make fun of the cat. I just said, really? What does he like about the cat? It led into something else. Like, oh, well, we love cats because it protects our dog. Oh my gosh, dogs. I have a dog. Now I'm making this stuff up. And then find ways that it leads that story to something else. You can be agreeable, but don't be a chameleon. We had this backfire, or I shouldn't say we got a deal because someone went out. LDS, the Mormon church, is big in Utah. And this guy went to a home, and he wasn't LDS. He wasn't Mormon, but he chameleoned him. He said, the guy's like, oh yeah, we're LDS, we're Mormon. The guy's like, me too. And he wasn't, by the way. So here's the best part, guys. He gets up, and he's walking out at the end of the appointment. He points to a picture on the wall, which happens to be the prophet of the Mormon church. And he says, is this a picture of your dad? And he's like, no, that's the prophet of the church that you said you belong to. And all of a sudden it was like, right? Guess who didn't get the deal? Because he acted like a chameleon. So that's another thing about credibility. Don't be a chameleon. Just say, if you don't like it, like you don't like I'm having a banana split. Really? And if you don't like banana splits, don't say you like it. Just say, really, what is it about banana splits that you don't like or that you like? And then find out where it leads and say, well, I like that the chocolate's pretty. Now, chocolate, that's where I can agree. I'm a fan of chocolate, right? And go and distract it. So awesome stuff. Let me
Eddie Frazier agrees with you. Eddie Frazier agrees with you.
Dude, that's my man. Target practice. All right. Let's see. What marketing strategy would you recommend to take my business to the next level? Sam, depends on the one you're currently doing. I don't know which one you're currently doing, but I would always say just here's the secret, no matter where you're at. Maybe I'll give you this and then Jerry, hop in. Ray, you can hop in. But I would tell you this. Always do one at a time. Be a sniper. Shoot one bullet at a time. And then if you're going to bring on your next marketing channel because you have a process in place and now maybe you have people in place that can manage that so you can bring on a second marketing channel, only bring it on one at a time and commit to 6 months. This is where most people fail. They only give it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and like, this just isn't working. They quit. And so how to get your business to the next level, all marketing channels work. What I see is a lack of work on the investor or the wholesaler to make those things work. So just make sure whatever you do, bring it on one at a time. If you haven't considered web marketing, I think that's the way of the future, and that's definitely most profitable. And bring it on one channel at a time. Facebook being the most affordable, PPC being the most expensive, and just start picking where you want to go. PPC. Quicker time frame from start to finish. Facebook a little bit longer, but that's an awesome web channel. And only bring it on one channel at a time and commit to 6 months.
Yeah, and again, guys, if you've got at least $50 a day, are we getting that? Sorry about that. If you have at least, I don't know. Oh, it stopped. Okay. If you have at least $50 a day, guys, you can go to Bateman Collective at the bottom there. You see that link there, and he's amazing with motivated seller traffic, right? So, that would be a great place to go. He'll help you get that going. You don't have to have all of those moving parts in place already, you know, with figuring it out on your own. You know, so keep that in mind if you're ready to jump right into a marketing channel. Yep. All right. What else you got, Cody?
Phenomenal scale question here, guys.
Ooh.
Kimberly, I love this. This is an awesome question.
Yeah, I think yes. I think the more hats anybody wears, then it's like when I do my rehabs, guys. I don't hire a handyman to rehab the whole house.
Yeah.
Because a handyman is good at, they're okay at a lot of things, not really good at any one thing. I don't want that on my rehabs. I want to have specialized skill sets in all the different areas. I don't want the painter also doing drywall, also doing tile, also doing gutters, right? They're not going to be very good at it, and it's going to go slow. It's going to bog down. So now to qualify that, you're going to be wearing multiple hats, and maybe as you start to create a team, there is a little crossover. But you don't want to hang out there. Your goal is to get very specialized skill sets in the different areas of your business.
I love that. Guys, with a piece of paper, I want you to write love to do, hate to do, and draw a line down the middle. Write down all the processes that you love to do. Write down all the processes you hate to do. And then ultimately, you're going to start hiring out what you hate to do first and maintain what you love to do. And then ultimately, it's going to get to the point where you have to start hiring out the things that you love to do. That's one quick thing. And then Jerry, you mentioned a book, I believe last week, and maybe that was when I was actually in Arizona, but it's a fantastic book, Kimberly, to read. And that is The One Thing by Gary Keller. And it will just give you some very powerful principles to live by about this concept of not wearing multiple hats.
Yeah. Another one, Cody, would be, rocket fuel.
Fantastic.
Rocket Fuel. I forget the author, but it's really good because it helps you understand.
Gino Wickman.
Okay, yeah, it's the high level visionary, creative type of personality versus the integrator, analytical, get stuff done kind of person.
Yep.
And how good businesses kind of have a mix of that. So that's kind of helping you understand who should be wearing which hats.
All right, here you go. How can I reach bigger audiences on a low budget? I hate to be blunt, you can't.
Love this question. Hey, Dylan, when you figure that out, call me, okay?
Here's the thing, though. I will also follow up with, it's better to have less leads managed well than more leads managed poorly. And I'm sincere about that. There's a point where spending money has diminishing returns anyways. Mm-hmm. And so I would much rather go deeper with less leads than being mismanaged with more leads. And that's the truth of it. So I remember when my business partner got started, he sent out a mailer of 1,000 pieces, and he worked that list to death because he didn't have much money. And he worked that list probably better than anyone that would have owned that same 1,000 name list. And every time he sent that 1,000 name list out, he got a deal. And so he sent that list out 3 times. He got 3 deals. But most people would not have got those deals. But it's because his back was against the wall. He needed that money. And he wasn't just tiptoeing into it. He dove all the way in, and he managed those leads very, very well, even though there was very little leads to manage.
And Cody, and Dylan, I don't think that's necessarily what you want. So I had a really interesting conversation with Brandon, a PPC guy, and he said to me, you know, when you go for the lower budget keywords, those are less quality leads. So you go for the higher price leads, keywords, it's going to cost you more, but then the trade-off is it's more qualified. So sometimes we're like, hey, I want a bigger audience on a lower budget. Well, yeah, those are probably not as good, not as quality. Better to have high quality and a lower list of leads than this massive list of leads that are low quality, right? I mean, wouldn't you think? So don't get caught up in that idea that cheaper and bigger audiences at cheaper prices is necessarily better.
Love that. Anything you want to add to that, Ray?
I wish I knew the secret as well. I would just say try to start off cold calling, or not cold calling, driving for dollars. Just things are going to cost you more in time, and it's going to cost you in money. And just try to focus on those until you can scale up and spend some more money on your marketing.
Fantastic, Ray. Fantastic advice. I really love this one, Jerry. I want to scale my business virtually. Any suggestions and or ways to do so in the beginning for free or low cost on a tight budget? Mentor Timothy, you're saying you want to scale your business virtually, which maybe suggests that you're already doing it maybe in your backyard and you're just now picking maybe a second market. I hope I'm understanding that right. Jerry, would you say that's the way you would understand that before I answer?
I'm understanding that because if you're looking to scale, then the assumption is you're already kind of doing stuff. Yeah, so I think that's probably accurate.
Okay, so here's how I'd answer that. First of all, there is no low-cost tight budget. It's one of those things that you either start prepping for it. So let me tell you the wrong way I did it, and let me tell you the right way I did it. The wrong way I did it was I thought I was cool because we did 1.8 million in Utah a few years back. And I thought, man, this is great. Let's just go into another market. And we picked Indiana. Let me tell you about Indiana. Indiana was a flop. Utah, we were doing about 20 to 25,000 on average per deal. Indiana's average is like 4 to 5,000 per deal. So there was already the same amount of workload and effort and energy put into trying to do deals in Indiana, where I would have to do 5, 6, 7 deals to equal 1 deal in Utah. That doesn't add up. That doesn't add up in hours. It just doesn't make sense. So we also noticed that because we went into Indiana with guns blazing, we lost focus and traction in Utah, and we didn't take care of the golden goose that was laying golden eggs. And when you don't take care of the geese die, and we darn near died. We were doing about 125, 130,000 on average during this time, and that goose stopped producing eggs, meaning we weren't managing those leads. And we started to do like 40,000 a month. 40,000 doesn't keep lights on at Utah Sell Now during that time. And so we pulled out, no different than if you had cancer in your body. You cut it out of your body. We cut that out of our business. The second time we did it correctly. We prepped and we had 50 grand and we took it out and put it in a bank account to open up Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. We never wanted to rob from Peter to pay Paul. So we set up saying we have 50 grand to figure this out. But here's what we did. We did our research and said, where else in the nation can we do an average of about $25,000 so that we're equally mirroring what we're already doing in Salt Lake versus downgrading what we're already used to doing. Guys, ask Jerry this, whether he does a $300,000 ARV fix and flip or a $1.5 million ARV fix and flip. It is the same amount of oxygen that he breathes. It is the same amount of work. It's the same amount of brain cells that he does have to spend sometimes, but I'm telling you, it's the same. So why work hard on a 4K assignment when it's the same amount of work for a 25K assignment? So that was what we did. We prepped this time and said, what mirrors Salt Lake? And it better do at least that or better. We picked Dallas, Fort Worth, and we already had a budget that we weren't profitable until about 3/4 of the way through the year. So low budget, I'm not a fan of going into any market low budget. I'd rather just get deeper in the market I'm currently in and just get better at it and gain more market share until you actually have 50 grand set aside to go open up a market that can self-sustain and feed that market to do what it needs to do to grow.
Yeah, and guys, the same tactics for free and low cost lead gen is the same virtual or backyard. It's the manual, time intensive, labor intensive type of things that don't cost money or that you have to do yourself because you're not ready to hire that stuff out. Otherwise there is no free or low cost because it takes money to advertise. It takes money to get cold callers, right? There are parts of the business that you have to start to invest in that are going to now allow you to leverage and scale to that new level. So if you're looking to, hey, I want to expand my business, I would be asking a different question that's not free or low cost, but rather, what do I got to do like what Cody said, what do I got to do to get $50,000 that I can launch, a couple months worth of advertising so I can hit the ground running, not hit the ground limping. You don't want to hit the ground limping. That's a tough way to open a new market, is limping into that market.
So true. So true. Jerry, great question here. Some individuals, just like Ray, out there doing deals. They want to scale. They want to get to the next level. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I obviously have ways that they can scale, and I don't. We haven't pre-talked about anything about telling them and letting them know ways of how they can do it. But why don't you attack this one?
Yeah. So this is a great question. I mean, you're doing 50K in assignments. Now, I don't know if that is overall or how long of a period to do the 50K. 20 right now in escrow. So let's say that 20 is kind of a monthly number, and you want to get to the 100,000 a month. You've got some VAs you're doing now. So it's going to come down to, it sounds to me like you've got some good processes. You're closing deals. It really could be as simple as take the 20K and that 50, take that money you're generating and reinvest as much of it as you can back into more marketing. If you're looking at a contract per deal basis, then you can do the math. If you're spending $3,000 to $5,000 per contract and you want to do 100 grand in assignments, what's your average price per contract, like wholesale per contract? Divide that out and you can back into the math to really figure out that number on what you're going to have to spend to get there. And if you're willing, if you believe in your processes and you're willing to put the money into it, you can get to that six-figure a month number. But there isn't some kind of secret formula to get there. You got to spend the money to get the money, really, and make sure you're able to close those deals that come in, the leads that come in. That's kind of the way I would look at it.
I have a hunch that me and Jerry will have something out there that will help ramp you individuals up to six figures a month. Stay with us. Stay tight. Stay with us. We're going to have some special stuff coming in the near future. There was one right here. So, Ray, where are you pulling your list from for cold calling, my friend?
Currently, I'm using PropStream, but I would recommend that you try to go directly to your county or somewhere. Try to find data that's not easily accessible. So if someone in their basement on their credit card can buy it, there's going to be a lot more competition. So if you have to go somewhere physically, I feel like you'll get a lot better leads.
Love that.
Yeah. So you would be referring to maybe like a tax delinquent list, or like
even
or like a water shut off list, stuff like that. That's a little trickier to get to. What I found with like tax delinquents is the free list. It's county by county usually, but the free list everyone can get, right? So the more it costs, then the less competition, the better the leads are going to be. Yep. If I follow and kind of Ray what you're saying. But guys, there's lots of places you can get data from. It's just, how much data do you want to pull, and then just getting that ball rolling with the data.
Yeah. List, guys, there's plenty of them out there. Remember this acronym. It's not really an acronym, but I guess it is. It's PEND, PEND, probate, eviction, notice of default, divorce. And if you can get those daily, some states, some counties, some municipalities, townships, courthouses, you can get those daily. And if you can, you'll be the first ones on them. Those are some of my favorite lists to be cold calling. PEND, probate, eviction, notice of default, divorce. Let's see, Jerry. Let's see. I'm going to get this going. Okay. Do you see any on here?
Josh?
Okay, here's one. You're good at this, Jerry.
Oh, where would one find a hard money lender and private money lender to fund their first flip? So great question. Hard money is easy, guys. It's all around you. It's in every market. It's right in your backyard. And they'll lend you 80%. If you have zero experience, they'll lend you 80% of the total capital needed for the deal with no experience. And it's relatively cheap. You're going to be paying 12%, a couple points, and get 80% of the money needed. The magic to 100% funding fix and flip is in the private money or the gap funding, right? The secondary money, the 20% money not covered by hard money. You figure that one out, and you can roll into fix and flip with zero of your own money into those deals, which is how I like to do most of my deals even today, 100% funding. So now it comes down to private, and private is individuals. It's your neighbors, it's your friends, it's the people you go to church with. Think about it this way. Anybody who's been working corporate America for 10 years or longer probably has anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 in an IRA, and they will gladly lend it to you on a real estate deal at 8 to 10, 12% if they just knew how and they just had that opportunity. So, I make it a goal to constantly raise capital. It's one of the most important things I do in my business because I don't just wholesale. I also do some high-end fix and flip and new construction. So funding those deals and access to a lot of capital is a really big deal. And so I make that effort to talk to people all the time about lending me money on my deals. So if you can just start that conversation, I've got some great resources, guys, if you want, of kind of how to help somebody feel comfortable lending money on a real estate deal. People lend money to people they like and trust, and people do not lend money on something they don't understand. So you need to be able to help them feel comfortable that their money's safe, it's protected, it's a good investment. Even if you don't have experience, you can do that effectively. And then once you raise that 20% money, leveraging hard money on the first 80%, now you're 100% in, guys, and there's no stopping you now. Like you can do deals, and you can't use money as a way to not get into fix and flip, right?
Yeah, love that. This one's a great question. Really, this comes down to mindset. It's as good as you think it is. It's as bad as you think it is. So, Henry Ford, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So really, it's what do you feel about it? How can you build your confidence? Or if you don't have confidence in the market, get out of the market and you'll find out you're right. Southern California, just know that your cost up front, so your initial cost per conversion, cost that takes in marketing, time, effort, energy, is going to be a lot more than for, say, Baton Rouge, or I'm making cities up, not making cities up, but like I'm just saying cities out there, Jackson, Mississippi, right? Like that's going to be like your lowest cost. So Southern California in general just has a larger upfront, but the upside, guys, is if you're willing to weather the storm and pay that upfront, your assignments are probably some of the largest in the whole entire country as well. So there's that one side of the spectrum. Yes, it may cost 15 grand cost per conversion on average instead of 3,000 to 5,000 like Jerry shared at the beginning. But instead of a $10,000 to $20,000 assignment, it could be a $50,000 to $75,000 assignment.
Yeah, so Cody, I coach a lot of Southern California, Los Angeles, a lot of California, San Francisco and stuff, and everybody in California wants to do virtual because a couple things. They think the biggest thing is the price points are too high, right? Like they're really intimidated by a contract for $600,000 on a 1,200 square foot ranch. Like that's kind of intimidating, especially when you start looking outside of California and you're like, oh, I can go to Indiana and contract that same house for 40 grand, or in Cody's case, 3 grand or whatever, right? Or Detroit. So you tend to think, well, the lower price points are going to be easier to do the business. And well, all you're doing is you're taking smaller assignments along with that lower price point. So wholesaling is wholesaling. I don't care if it's 600,000 or 60,000. A contract's a contract, a signing's a signing. But like Cody said, you assign that $600,000 contract for $675,000, and you do a $75,000 wholesale. Nothing beats that, baby. I mean, that's 10 small deals in a different market, maybe, right? So my advice would be, don't shy away from California because of the high price points. And to add to that, the cash buyers in California are so far out of formula. They're overpaying dramatically right now, which means your wholesale spreads are massive if you learn how to get good deals, because it's ridiculous how much they're overpaying there for deals. And you got these fix and flippers, okay, to do a $1 million fix and flip and make 25 grand. Okay, wholesale it to them for 75. Let them do all the work and make 25.
Yeah.
Right?
So, our boy Tyler, joke's on you. Jackson, Mississippi is way nicer than Southern California, Cody. All right. Any tips for negotiating? Ray, have you done any tax delinquent list? Any deals from tax delinquent? Oh, I think you might be muted.
Yeah, muted my mic. Dogs are barking, but I have not done any tax delinquent yet.
Okay. Any tips, guys, is on any list, whether that's divorce list, probate, eviction. Well, probate's a little bit different, but eviction, tax delinquent, divorce, behind on the mortgage, NOD, it doesn't matter. No one wants you to know about their dirty laundry. And so never, ever make it a point on any list to say, hey, you showed up on the tax delinquent list. Well, let me tell you what I can do. And you start telling and selling your benefits, right? No, it's just the same. How do you just find out if they have any interest in selling their home, and then find out why? Why are they willing to sell their home? And that's the big point behind this. So that's specific not just to tax delinquent. Any list, you never want to say, hey, it looks like you're on the eviction list and you're pissed off at one of your tenants. How can I help you? Right? You're just going to go on there and say, hey, you own the home on 123 Main Street. Hey, have you ever entertained a cash offer on that home? And if they say, yes, I have. Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the property? I mean, I've seen it on Zillow. I've looked it up. But can you tell me a little bit more about it? Tell me about the insides and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, one tip I would add to that, it's not a negotiation tip. It's just a tax delinquent tip. When you pull those lists, make sure you pull past a year delinquent.
I'm even of the opinion of 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. Even 2 years, because a lot of people will let their taxes lapse a year and then pay it all and catch it up. That's really common for a lot of people. So your year, even to 2 years, aren't going to be that great of a list. Whereas past 2 years, there's probably something going on there, right? There's probably some motivation, and they're getting closer to a tax foreclosure for sure. So just keep that in mind.
Here you go. I'm brand new to wholesaling. Let's do maybe one or two more questions and then let's hop. I'm brand new to wholesaling. I've never done a deal, but I'm trying to absorb all the information I can. I live in Arizona. Any recommendations on what I should focus on first or make a priority? Here's what I would do. After tonight, I feel like there's been so much gold shared. I would not absorb one more piece of information going forward, and I would only act on the information you already have available to you. There's no such thing as a perfect plan, so don't build a perfect plan. You just have to commit to imperfect action. You're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. I've been doing this now for over 5 years. We still make mistakes. It's inevitable. In fact, the only way that I'll never make a mistake ever again is quit and give up. And I want you to understand that. Take courage in it. You've already learned enough. You've already heard enough. You just got to act, because the person that's taking imperfect action is far, far better ahead and so much closer to a deal than the person that's sitting up at home, absorbing information, taking no action at all.
Yeah, to add to that, Cody, it's human nature to think we have to know everything before we can do anything. And we want to know step 5, what's step 5 before I do step 2. And that's just normal, guys. That's just part of how we operate as humans. It's like, I'll feel so much safer if I understand everything that could possibly happen. And what Cody's saying here, guys, is you got to walk in the dark a bit. You got to say, you know what? I really don't know what step 3 is, but I'm going to do step 1, because at least that starts creating motion. And when I create motion, that means I'm moving towards step 2. Step 2 will never come if I don't take step 1. So while I'm worrying about step 5, I'm not even taking step 1, and I go nowhere. So you really want to just think about, what is step 1? Do step 1. And then when you do step 1, you're ready to then do step 2. And that's a little scary, but it's the right way, I think, to really start to create momentum in this business. And it's the fastest way to start to see results.
Yeah. Guys, let's do this. Why don't we do round robin, starting with you, Ray? What advice to end this would you give to those that are out there that are in the beginning stages? You're about 6 months in, you said, knowing what you know now. What would you have done differently? Or what's some kind of advice that you give to someone that's just in the beginning stages?
I would say try to learn. It's kind of counter to what you're saying, but try to learn as many methods as you can, then focus on one strategy and just be as consistent as possible, 90 days to 6 months, and just keep being consistent. And eventually you'll stumble into a deal even if you don't really know what you're doing.
Love it. Jerry?
So guys, if I can only speak from my own personal experience, but the one thing that I feel like has allowed me to be successful in this business is being willing to just really make mistakes and give myself permission to make mistakes and let it be okay that I make mistakes. So I make a lot of mistakes in the business, guys. I've done deals that lose money. I've lost on deals. But what I've never done is I've never let that define me. And I've always just gotten right back up on the saddle and just cowboyed up and just learned from it. And I feel like because of the losses and because of the failures, I've been able to learn even faster from those things than from the successes. You don't learn so much from success, but you sure learn a whole lot when you mess up. And so just get out there and fumble through it, make mistakes, be willing to mess up. And above all else, you've got to flex that risk muscle, right? You've got to be willing to push yourself a little bit, take a risk. Maybe that means your first, 1,000 list direct mail campaign. And that's scary because it's money. Maybe it's hiring a cold caller or whatever it might be. Maybe it's putting some earnest money down. Maybe it's, borrowing hard money, whatever that looks like for you. You've got to make a distinct, clear decision that you're not going to let your mistakes or your failures define you or stop you from taking action. And I just feel like for new people, that's such an important thing to hear and grasp and accept that about yourself to move forward in this business.
Love both your guys' advice. Just remember the power of the 5, right? Who you surround yourself with, and just make sure you're surrounded with people that are the yay sayers and not the nay sayers, right? There's too many people are going to say it can't be done. You're a fool for getting in there. Just go back to college. You should just stay at your job. Be grateful for what you have in life. Guys, we've all heard these. And so what I want you to do is commit to finding people that are going to cheer you on, that are going to support you, and that are going to keep you positive, because it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is never easy in any field, and it's not easy in real estate either. And so you need to be able to have that support system so that when you have your first rough challenge, that you're not going to the naysayer saying, see, I told you, bro. I told you, sis. Like, I told you you're not going to do it. And then they start to validate it, and then you jump out of the game too soon. Make sure you surround yourself with the positive people so that when you feel in your weak moment, you can call them up and say, hey, Jerry, bro, I'm in a weak moment. Help me through this. Cody, dude, I'm not allowing you to do that. Like, all you got to do is this. You're staying in this game. You're too good at what you do. You're not going to give up. And then I can get off that phone and be like, I'm on. Let's go. I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to push forward. I'm going to do this. Surround yourself with the yay sayers, not the naysayers. That's crucial. Guys, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Jerry, why don't you finalize it?
Yeah. Hey, guys. So we didn't but Ray, what was your biggest wholesale? 11,000? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. That was yesterday.
Yesterday, $11,000 wholesale deal. And he did a really cool mobile home. It was like a $500 contract price. Wholesaled it for like $3,000. Not a huge assignment, but guys, that's kind of cool to do something like that. So guys, leave a comment right now. Say, Ray, you are a flipping genius. And of course, let me and Cody know that as well. We really appreciate when you guys do that. It's always fun to hear. And seriously, guys, though, we really appreciate you being here, making time to learn and grow and develop in this business. Cody and I love to do this. We're going to do it again, same time next week. And guys, when the live ends, it's gonna stop the chat, I think, and then you can participate on this video down in the comments section. So if you watch this after the live is over, or you go back and watch it again, we'll try to watch that and answer those questions that come in down there as well. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Here's this. I'm gonna put these on here, guys. You got to keep seeing this, Ray. You're a flipping genius. They're loving you, Ray. They're loving you, man. Here's your support crew right here. They're telling you, keep doing it. Keep inspiring. So, Ray, thanks again, bro.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.